5 of Whatever She's Having with Linda Hoffner. This season, my bestie and co-host Claire Simaduria has been taking a little break to focus on her campaign for Bellevue City Council. And hot news, she won with 80% of the votes.
Woo.
We are so incredibly proud of her and can't wait to have her back next season. In the meantime, I'll be inviting guests to the podcast to talk about being fearless, showing up for ourselves, and being a champion for other women's success. This podcast is proudly presented by 425 Magazine, our amazing podcast partner who continues to support our platform of celebrating empowering friendships. I am so excited about my guest today. In this last episode of the season, I am joined by Jackie Montgomery, the Executive Director of Resource Development for the Family First Community Center in Renton. This is the philanthropic arm for Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawk Doug Baldwin Jr. Jackie is also a founding member of SeaTac BMX, can't wait to learn more about that, a local nonprofit building a $1 million BMX facility in South King County. Very cool. Prior to her work in the nonprofit sector, Jackie worked in broadcast media for nearly 2 decades, most recently with the Seattle Seahawks as a talented reporter and content creator, which is where she met Doug and started a new chapter in her quest to make a difference. Welcome, Jackie.
Hi.
I'm so excited to have you here with me today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
I'm grateful that you gave me a tour of the center a couple weeks ago, and it seemed natural that I could invite you here to give you some space to talk about the incredible work that you guys are doing
Awesome.
at
Thank
the
you.
Family First Center. I want to know, first of all, I was in complete awe of what you guys have created there.
Thank you so much.
It was so much more than I even envisioned. So
thank you.
I think we first met at the Doug's Champions of Change
Yes,
Gala,
correct.
and then you invited me to tour the center. So tell us a little bit about your role there.
Oh, thank you. So I, as you mentioned, I'm the Executive Director of Resource Development, and so I'm fully in charge of funding our space to make sure that it's accessible to the community. We really pride ourselves at Family First Community Center for offering a free membership for community members. Right now we have 15,000 members, over 15,000 members in just our 2.5 years of being open. So really trying to answer that call for the community to have a free and safe and inviting space for all. We also work really hard to keep all of our programming free to low cost. So we absorb a lot of those costs. We subsidize a lot of classes. So really doing my part to help keep the community center open and flourishing for our neighbors.
That's amazing. And I think what really surprised and impressed me was the vast variety of programs that you offered, but also ages and stages in your life of, you're getting the toddlers to the seniors and everyone in between, with very intentional and dedicated programming for each of those groups, which I think is rare and very cool.
Yes, thank you for calling that out. So yeah, we are, we serve a lot, we have a lot of different programs. We have a wide variety of programs, activities, resources, and services, all centered around recreation, education, wellness, and togetherness. But what makes us so unique is that we are Washington State's first all ages community center that incorporates all of those traditional services that you would find at a community center, along with a community health clinic, thanks to our partners at Health Point that provide medical, dental, and behavioral support care to the community. So to have all of that in one building, a one-stop shop for community members, it's really amazing, and really trying to take a holistic approach to how we serve community. Because if you're thinking about it, if you're missing those really vital pieces of your life, whether that's health or finances, education, it's like you don't have the space to really think of how to bring joy to your life, or how to maybe accomplish this goal or take place in this activity. So really trying to, exactly. So really trying to, like I said, take a holistic approach to create space for families to have, it's like a firework, to have space in their lives to kind of find that joy, find the space that they can participate in our program. So.
And I think what was cool to see too is just the connection to each other,
yeah.
like the members connecting. And I was there when it was a senior programming morning time, and seeing everybody kind of line up for the painting class, and they were there
Yes.
early and they were excited and they were chatting with the other members. And you guys have a secret handshake.
We do have a secret handshake, really trying to foster that sense of belonging for the community. So we have kids as, toddlers that can do it all the way to our elders. So again, really trying to help people just feel like they belong. They belong to this cool club called the Family First Community Center, where they can get all their needs met, or needs met rather. But yes, like you're saying, so we are all ages. So we have a really small building. It's only 21,000 square feet. So we really have to be intentional of how we create our space and utilize the different rooms that we have. And so we have this, what we like to call targeted scheduling approach, where we have certain hours of the day where we can really focus on providing high quality programs and activities for different age groups. So yes, as you're mentioning, you came there during our morning hours, which is like we dedicate all of our programming to seniors and then toddlers and their caregivers. And then as it goes through the day, we have teen time for what we identify teens as middle school and high school age youth, and so a space for them after school. And then in the evenings, we have some more intergenerational programming, but geared towards elementary school age kids.
That's so great. And I saw that firsthand of how well that kind of flows, and the different spaces and things that you offer within those spaces for, that are targeted specific to that group that you're serving at the time. Can you kind of explain how it all came together and what partners made it possible to create this center?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, because it is definitely a unique public and private partnership. So we have four main stakeholders in the building. The Renton School District donated the property that we're on. We're located right next door to an elementary school, and we're strategically located within 3 miles of 10 schools. 7 of those falling within the Renton School District. So there's already like a built-in group of kids that, there's over close to 5,000 kids that make up those 10 schools. So we have the opportunity to be a wellness hub for those 5,000 students and their families. The city of Renton built the building that we're in. It's a beautiful, beautiful building. And then we operate the community center. Family First does, along with Health Point, who operates our community health clinic, like you mentioned. But I think what the story that I would really love to highlight of why we're there is it all goes back to our founder, Doug Baldwin Jr., as you mentioned. But Doug, when he first moved to Seattle, he was an undrafted free agent, and so you don't have that like rookie contract that that brings in maybe some money for yourself. And so since he was coming in as an undrafted free agent, he rented a small apartment. Lived very conservatively. Rented a small apartment with Richard Sherman. Actually, we all may know those two names.
But nobody in Seattle knows that.
Right, but they rented a small apartment about a mile down from the community center.
So they were roommates?
They were roommates,
okay.
Yes. They were good friends when they played together in Stanford, and then so playing here in Seattle. They were roommates, and they lived about a mile down the road from where the community center is located now, and in what we call the Benson Hill and Cascade area of Renton, or South Renton, South Hill, some people will call it. But Doug and Richard, they would go after practice. They would go to this place called Mama's Teriyaki, and it was a really small hole-in-the-wall teriyaki joint in Renton. And after a while, they started to notice that there was all these kids that would come in there, and they would just, not necessarily be eating. They were just hanging out and doing their homework, and as a place for them to be. And Doug finally asked Mama, like, why are there all these kids here? Like, they're not eating their food. They're just in the space. And she called out that there was just not a lot of places for these kids to go after school. And so if it was a place where they could be, inside, out of the rain, be in a warm, safe space, they weren't bugging her customers. They were just doing homework and hanging out. And if she could provide that for them, she welcomed them in, and she was happy to host them because they didn't have a place to be. And so that really got the wheels turning for Doug because he likes to share a story about his youth. And he grew up in what he calls the back end of a dilapidated Salvation Army back in Pensacola, Florida. And he said that place was extremely influential in his life. And that was where he was first exposed to sports, which we saw, obviously where that took him in life. It introduced him to his first mentors and really to people that believed in him and helped shape him as a human and shape him into the person he is today. And so hearing that from Mama really started to get the wheels turning, and he wanted to provide that safe space for teens. And so it actually started off with the thought of being just an indoor basketball facility. So for those who don't know, basketball is actually Doug's first love, not football, but basketball. And he wanted to find a space where they could just be inside and play basketball. And as he started to talk with people within Renton and within like the broader community about what that could look like, through the city of Renton and their former mayor, Dennis Law, they had just put together a comprehensive community plan for the city. For those that don't know, that's like basically the community, both leadership and community members coming together to help paint the picture, like what the vision of a city will look like in the future. And so they had identified that area of Renton needed a community building and a medical space. So the community center really meets both of those needs.
So that had already been identified as a need for the city of Renton.
Yes, and so because this area of Renton was actually unincorporated King County for a long time, and it was just annexed to the city in 2008. So these conversations, they started happening in about like 2012, 2013. And
as we all know, it takes that long
to
get things done.
So almost a decade later, we were able to break ground and then now open the space. And so, Doug really wanted a space for youth to come and just be, safe and feel welcome in a warm and inviting environment, and have people that really care about them. And he likes to share that we approach everything with love. Like that is like the premise for him, is approaching everything with love and empathy and care. And I think we've really accomplished that in the community center. Like you said, with our handshake,
I felt it just being in the room.
Thank you.
The artwork, everything is very centered around love and belonging.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have to ask though, is Mama's Teriyaki still open?
No, it's sadly not there. I remember Doug saying that she reopened someplace elsewhere in South King County, I believe, but it's not there. There's a lot of other really great restaurants, but unfortunately, no more Mama's Teriyaki.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we got to keep those small businesses alive.
I know, we do.
If Mama's Teriyaki could spark this whole movement for Doug in, creating a place for people, like think about there's all the other opportunities for that to happen, for these places that are people's kind of third place or their place that they go to because they feel safe there. So many of our small businesses are that for families and youth.
For sure.
And being able to translate that into a broader center is really incredible story. And I'm sure kind of led you to see the vision. So how do you feel your experience? You were in broadcast and that's how you met Doug. That's not a straight line transition. So tell me about that transition, and did your experience in broadcasting help you kind of be able to advocate for what this community center was going to bring?
Oh, thank you. So yes, definitely a big career pivot for me. As you mentioned, I worked in sports broadcasting for almost 2 decades, and most recently with the Seahawks. I was with the Seattle Sounders for about 8 seasons before that, and have worked for Major League Soccer, a lot of different networks down in LA where I used to live. And it was definitely a big change, but I really just felt a need to, I was feeling really called to go into the nonprofit sector. I think in 2020 illuminated a lot of things for me, as it did for a lot of people. But it was just really pulling at my heartstrings to go into nonprofit. So I went back to school to study nonprofit management at UW, and
Oh, that came before. I
yeah,
missed that
yeah.
piece. Okay, so you wanted to go into this prior to the center even being built.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. So I was already mentally starting to make that transition of how can I make a greater impact in my community. You know, I loved sports broadcasting. It opened so many doors for
Yeah.
me. It led me to meet my husband, and I have two beautiful kids, and so it opened a lot of really wonderful doors. But at the end of the day, I just felt like, you know, you can really get your sports statistics from anywhere, and so I wanted to do something a little bit more intrinsically rewarding for me. And so, yeah, I went back to school to study nonprofit management and was not quite sure where I was going to land. The Seahawks and every major, all sports teams have like a community arm. So I thought, okay, if anything, I can go, I can kind of transition into our community side for the Seahawks. And I started to, I had, and I still do, have really great relationships with a lot of the staff at the Seahawks. And so I started sharing like what I was wanting to do. And so they had opened some like kind of doors for me with helping some of the players. You know, a lot of the players want to also have that need to give back, which is so beautiful.
And a lot of them have their own foundations and things, right?
Yep, exactly. So I was starting to maybe carve out a niche of like helping these players get their nonprofit started, or helping kind of direct them. But I was still so new at it as well. So it was definitely kind of a learning process. And in kind of along this, you know, journey, it was very serendipitous how I like reconnected with Doug. He was always one of my favorite players, both on and off the field. Like he has such an amazing, yes, such an amazing heart.
Because Jen said the same thing.
Yes, I know, but it's not, you know, it's not just me like kissing up to my boss. Like he is just really an incredible person and very genuine and really cares a lot about the community and cares about people, and I have always really appreciated that. And then we also have a lot of parallels in our lives. His dad was a police officer, my dad was a police officer, his mom's Filipino, my mom's Filipino, so a lot of just like natural alignment. I was on a walk with a friend around Seward Park one day and ran into Doug, who was also on a walk around Seward Park. And I was like, oh my gosh. And we just got to connect. And he was like, what are you doing now? Are you still at the team? And I was like, I am, but I'm kind of transitioning to work in nonprofit.
At this point?
He was already retired at this point. So, you know, I don't keep in touch with players once they leave. And so I hadn't seen him in a really long time. And so, yes, he was already retired and was like, well, you know, I told him I was looking to go into the nonprofit sector. And he was like, well, let's stay in touch. I might have a job opportunity for you. And so I was able to reconnect and had a few lunches to share what I was like hoping to do and what his needs were for the community center. And so he brought me on. I was one of the first employees, myself and then my counterpart, Nate, were the two first employees that got there, just as they were starting to break ground on the community center. And then so we're really instrumental in kind of building the partnership with Health Point and the city and all the founding partners to create it into the space it is today.
And do you miss the broadcasting at all, or is this really fulfilling that void that you had?
Yeah, you know, it is fulfilling the void. I feel like the parts that I do miss are the schedule. It was a very comfortable schedule working for the Seahawks and for the sports teams that I did, because I essentially had to be there when the players were there. So especially with the Seahawks and the NFL being, you know, such a much shorter season than you would find in like baseball or even soccer. Soccer's pretty long in hockey, but I was really just working about 6 months out of the year.
Oh,
and
it's kind of like a part-time gig?
I was part-time for them because when I had first come on with the Seahawks, I was already working for the Sounders, and when the two teams split, there was kind of some
same ownership for a
yes,
while, right?
correct.
Yeah.
And so I was primarily hired on for the Sounders, and then did a little bit of work for the Seahawks. And then as that started to shift more to doing more heavily Seahawks opposed to Sounders, I was asked to come on full time, but there was a rule that you cannot be, that you couldn't work with
Oh,
both teams. And I really appreciated that autonomy because I worked freelance for a lot of different networks still in California. And so I wasn't ready to be full time for the Seahawks.
Got
and
it.
so, yes.
You were in charge of your own
I was in charge of my own
Yeah.
schedule. But so,
Yeah.
yes, I do miss that. Having a little bit more time off because this is definitely just so much time is dedicated to it because we're essentially still a small business, so wear a lot of different hats.
You're in the startup phase.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. So I want to switch to kind of more what's going on recently in the in the world with the government shutdown and workers being furloughed and the loss of SNAP benefits.
Yeah.
And how have you seen that affecting the members of your community center, and has there been a spike in resources that have been requested or needed?
For sure. I think for us, because we are not a food bank, or that's not our primary area of focus, we didn't see a large influx of need right away. I think if the shutdown continues to go on, that might change. But at the moment, we haven't been feeling I shouldn't say that we haven't been feeling anything. We do have a lot of community members coming in. I would say
looking for resources.
A lot around housing insecurity.
Yeah.
We, as a community center, we had already trying to meet different needs. So we have food bags that we were already putting together for the community. Last year we gave out just under 150 food bags for different families, and then provided over 4,000 pounds of fresh fruit to the community.
Wow.
We have a little a bowl of fresh fruit, rotating fresh fruit for the community to come in and have as a snack. And so, we have, for us, I think where we saw the most kind of change is just as a staff wanting to be aware of what, for example, what our rights are around surrounding ICE. And we have a very diverse population that comes into the community center, and we wanted to be best prepared to know what to do if something like that were to happen, and how we could protect our community members to the best of our ability. And so knowing, what warrants are allowed to be in the community center, which ones aren't valid in our space, because we are on school district property. So for a while they weren't allowed on school districts. Things have kind of changed, and it's kind of a free-for-all Wild West. But so really understanding what our rights were, I would say that was the biggest change for us, is knowing how we could protect the community to the best of our ability.
And it's not straightforward.
It isn't.
It's a little bit everywhere, and so it's hard to track what you can say, what you can do, what are the rights of even public property and private property, and it seems like it changes all the time.
Always. I mean, even just this week, there's been a lot of changes. The last 7 days of SNAP benefits. First, it sounded like they were going to have to be paid out. Now it sounds like they're not. So I think just a lot of uncertainty for a lot of individuals, which I think is the scary part, is just not knowing what it's going to be like next week, because it seems like there's so many things changing at the moment.
What would you say is the greatest need for the Renton community right now?
So for the Renton community, I mean, our area, Renton is so diverse as a whole. And so where we're at, I would say, just trying to be that support system how we can for the community, especially in South Renton. Like I said, being able to answer the call for if there are some food insecurities, that we can kind of try to fill in the gap as much as we can. And then again, with housing insecurities, I think that's where, like I mentioned, we see a lot of uptick. And that's not what we specialize in, but the staff really just has the heart to serve community. So even though that's not our area of focus, they really are working phone lines, calling our different partners, trying to see how they can help support the individuals and families in our area. But for us, as a whole, I would say just, continuing to find partners that see that vision of supporting community in a holistic way, and creating a safe and inviting place for everyone to come into our doors.
And what do you need from us, from people listening? What does the community center need that, people listening could help with?
So for us, and I mean, I hate to sound like just for, it's just money. It's funding. I think that's really where we see the need and where community can come in and help. So
And I don't think we touched on that earlier when you were talking about the center, but what is the funding mechanism for the center?
Yeah, so the funding mechanism right now, it is, most of our funding comes in from foundations, private foundations, the Gates Foundation, Allen Family Philanthropies, BECU, some of these larger foundations and larger corporations have really been stepping in to help support us. I think that they also have, a servant's heart, and they see the need that we are providing the community, and they have really stepped in to be incredible partners. And we have so many, that's just like the tip of the iceberg.
But I think it's important to distinguish that, because it's not like some of these community centers that you see that are city funded, right? Or they're managed by the city, part of the city, you go through the city to schedule things. This is its own community center.
Yes.
And without that type of funding,
for sure,
there is no center.
Exactly.
Right? So I really want to stress the importance
yes,
of that.
Thank you.
It's amazing what you're doing.
Thank you.
But it doesn't come with the same kind of backing that a traditional, what we would consider a traditional community center would. So, knowing that you guys are still seeking that ongoing funding, it's, one thing to fund the construction and get everything open and ready, but you have a budget, right?
Yeah,
An annual budget that has to be met through primarily philanthropic giving.
Yes, exactly. So as you pointed out, most community centers are run by a municipality, or it's like a Boys and Girls Club or YMCA, which have membership fees, and there can be pretty large membership fees depending on.
And connected to a greater network.
Yes,
right?
for sure. And so they have much larger revenue streams. We do not have really any revenue streams because we have, again, it's free. The space is free to the community. We try to keep all of our programs as affordable as possible. I would say the average price is like $10 for a program. We don't have that city funding that most organizations have. So our public funding is pretty limited right now because I think as a new organization, we're still kind of having to prove our track record of like the work that we're doing. And so hoping to see more public funding come in. But yes, it's really been our budget is really made up of giving through private foundations, corporations, and then individual donors. And I would say most immediately, we do have a campaign going right now called the 100 campaign, and we're looking for 100 community members, community superheroes, we call them, to really help us champion this organization. And so asking for 1,000 community members to donate 100 community members to donate $1,000 to help us reach $100,000 raised for the community by the community. And so I think that's probably the easiest way to make an impact with the community center right now. But again, right now it's just trying to find ways to fund things like our senior programming and our youth programming, because our senior programming specifically, we completely pay for. We pay for all the programming there. We absorb those costs because we just saw such a need for our elders to have a space to go to. And it's been beautiful to see the community that they've been able to build within the community center.
Okay, you guys heard that. That's a call to action. 100 people,
Yes.
$1,000. Let's do it.
Yes, you can find it on our website, familyfirstrenton.org. There's a little give button. And yeah, that's where I think people can make the most immediate impact. Yep.
Great. Okay, I want to kind of transition to you for a minute.
Yeah.
How have you seen your goals change since your transition from broadcasting to now doing what you're doing? And what does that look like for you?
Oh, wow. Now I think it is, it's been definitely a big change. Right now I think it's trying to find that work-life balance. I think in my
we all are
previous,
seeking
yes,
that.
right?
And is it a balance or?
Yes, and especially as moms, our kids are so important to us. And so, like I said, with my previous role, I had so much autonomy and so much, just time at my disposal. I mean, now granted, things aren't going to stop for you. It's like a game is not going to reschedule or a press conference is not going to reschedule. So there was some very strict deadlines and places that I had to be. But for the most part, it was I was able to really be present at home. And with this role outside of broadcasting, I think that's been probably my biggest thing is just learning how to prioritize things and to really prioritize a work-life balance, because being in a startup phase, as you know, there's just so much work to be done, so many hats that we wear, and so it's like the to-do list is never ending. I could,
Never
work,
ending,
yes,
yeah.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and still have a to-do list. And so really trying to honor my time and know, okay, it's time to stop and focus on family, because that's so important to me. So
What does self-care look like for you? Because I know Doug is very intentional about that with, his employees and ensuring that people are taking space for themselves, because the nonprofit world is so much giving of yourself.
For
so
sure.
What does self-care look like for you?
For self-care, it is definitely just having time with my family. I love, and then I also love being outside in nature. So I really try to make sure that I'm getting like a good walk-in every day. So I can, thankfully where I live, there's a lot of green space around my house. So just being outside and like the quiet outdoors is really important to me and really refreshing and a form of meditation for me. So, so yes, I would say that is like how I manage. That's what self-care is for me. It's just finding that time out in nature and that quiet time.
It's very grounding.
Yes, for sure, it is.
That's my self-care too.
Is it?
Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to transition into a fun segment.
Okay, all right.
We do rapid fire questions. You did not get these.
I know, I did not.
So
Yeah.
this is just off the cuff.
All right.
Your answers to this, and they're very silly and fun.
Okay.
Okay. Who is more fun to interview, Sounders players or Seahawks players?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Ooh. I am going to say Sounders players. I feel like the Major League Soccer, while it has grown exponentially in my time, I started working in Major League Soccer in about 2006, 2007.
Oh, yeah. So it's had a lot of change.
Yes, and I was talking to a friend recently, like at that time, the league minimum was about like $17,000. So there was kids that were, third string that still had full-time jobs, and I worked for a really major team at that time. But I think because Major League Soccer is not at the same level as the NFL, the level of fame is different. And because the level of fame is different, I think that they tend to be a little bit more open and like show
Engaging.
they're a little bit more vulnerable with their like silly side and stuff. So it was really fun like interviewing the Sounders players, because they kind of were a little, goofy, funny, playful at times, where I feel like with the NFL sometimes they're a little bit more like protecting a brand and image.
Yeah.
Not everyone, not all of them, but I would say the majority.
Awesome. Okay, favorite pump-up song before a big presentation?
Ooh, Whoop, there it is.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah, my tag team. Yeah.
Us 90s kids love that.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Really trying to, introduce my kids to 90s hip hop.
I know. It's the best. There is no better genre.
It is.
Beach or mountain vacation?
Oh gosh, that's a really tough one, because I find so much peace in both of them. I love being at the ocean, but my family and we spend a lot of time in the mountains. My husband runs a snowboard company, and so snowboarding is a huge.
But you're also from the beach, right?
Yes, but I am from the beach. I know. So see, that's why. Oh, it's so hard. It is. That is a really hard one, because it's a happy place for either or. I love both, but I would say at the beach, I can really feel myself fully relaxed, because it's like I could just sit there and stare at the water and listen to the waves for like hours.
There's something totally different.
So relaxing about it, but the mountains will always hold a special place in my heart too. So, that's a tough one.
Okay, last one. What would your kids say is their favorite meal that you make?
Oh gosh, my kids are so picky. That's a really tough one. But I think the easiest one is pasta, like a good pasta meal. It's like you can never go wrong with that. So I know everyone will have a full belly and after that. So I would say some sort of pasta meal.
That's a kid classic.
Yes,
Yeah, can't
for
go
sure.
wrong. All right. Well, we end every episode with a quote.
Okay.
I had to, of course, pick a Doug quote
Okay.
for this week. So, a quote that I saw from him that really tied to this episode is he said, "When we are all together on a mission of supporting our community, the health and well being of our community, we all benefit from that." And that was a quote he gave in a King 5 story when the Family First Center opened in 2023. And to me, it's a great reminder that our communities are only as healthy and successful as our most vulnerable community members. So it takes all of us working together to create that safe space where people can feel like they belong, because belonging is a basic human need, not a privilege.
Yeah.
So I'm so grateful that you could come and share with me the incredible work that you're doing. I'm so grateful I got to meet you and that we can stay connected, and however we can help grow your mission and vision, we are here. You'll meet Claire at some point, I'm sure. And she's, again, with her role on city council, has some great input on what that looks like from the municipality side. So
Yes, and congratulations to Claire. That's so exciting.
it's very exciting. We're so proud of her. And thank you again. I can't wait to hang out with you more.
Thanks, Linda. I really enjoyed the time.
Okay, we'll see you next time. Actually, we'll see you next season.